Mr. Chairman, it would be almost impossible to try to replicate in any small measure the statement just made by the distinguished Foreign Minister of St. Lucia. But I feel constrained to speak on this matter because I entered the Organization of American States in August of 2015, exactly 3 months after Luis Almagro took up the position of Secretary General. Therefore, in these last 8.5 years, I have journeyed with him during that period. And I suppose of all of the people in this room right now, I have watched his performance at close range better than anyone else, except the people who serve him in the Secretariat. I want to recall a biblical saying. You will hear me say it more than once. Many are called, but few are chosen. And I sincerely believe that over the last 8.5 years, what Luis Almagro has demonstrated is that he was chosen, and he did a remarkable job. He did a job without the financial resources necessary to do it. In fact, for most of the time, he was running a bankrupt organization. He learned in that time to become a professional beggar, because when there was no money to carry out the mandates which he was instructed to do, he had to seek that money elsewhere. And he found it, and he carried out those mandates. So in that journey alone and in that undertaking, he was quite remarkable. But this is also a man who departed from the norm of what previous Secretaries General have done. He was the first Secretary General to call for reparations for slavery. He was the first Secretary General who demanded that indigenous people in countries which refused to give them bank accounts should make them bankable. He was the first Secretary General who spoke out loudly for the recognition of Black rights and Afro-descendants. In that sense, he was a Secretary General for the people of the Caribbean and for people, vulnerable groups everywhere in Central America, in South America, and in North America. Now, amongst his successes too is the progression and advancement of women. From the time he entered this job, he has always spoken of the necessity for the equality of women. And I think all of these are part of the successes that we who worked with him witnessed him accomplishing. Now, was that all? I said in my plenary statement here that Haiti is not a matter that has recently come to the agenda of the Organization of American States. And during the 8.5 years that he has been there, almost, Haiti was constantly on his radar. And what has happened in Haiti is not a fault of the OAS. What has happened in Haiti has happened despite the efforts of the OAS. That's not the only thing. I mentioned in my plenary statement as well that neither Guyana nor Guatemala would today have had governments in office which reflect the will of the people cast in elections, were it not for the intervention of the Organization of American States. That is a debt that this organization, Guyana and Guatemala, will always owe to Luis Almagro, because he had the strength, the courage, and the bravery to stand up and say, the will of the people must not only be expressed, it must be respected. So, Belize and Guatemala, the adjacency zone, the role that he played in ensuring that the peaceful relationship remained in those countries, another of his accomplishments. And human rights across the Organization of American States, that man, more than anyone else, has stood up for it every single day. And he's been criticized for it. Some governments may have felt that he was not speaking for the OAS when he spoke on these issues. Well, he may not have been speaking for the OAS, but he was certainly speaking for the Charter of the OAS and for the Inter-American Democratic Charter. He upheld them with all of the vigor and commitment that we could have expected from a Secretary General. Amongst the other things that he did, he gave this Organization of American States a profile. He gave it recognition. Those tweets that he makes every day, sometimes 4 or 5 times a day, are followed by thousands of people, tens of thousands of people. And those people across all of our states of the OAS know about the OAS because of what he does. Not about what the Permanent Council does, not about what just General Assembly does, because we are not sexy enough. We don't make the news enough. We are not exciting enough for them, because we do mundane things. But he had the guts and the courage to speak up, knowing fully well that those were the things that people grab hold of. So we owe him that as well, that recognition that this OAS did not enjoy when he came into the job. I want to, just before I end on the Secretary General, say we haven't spoken about the Assistant Secretary General. I want to point out why I have not spoken about the Assistant Secretary General, except to say this. The Assistant Secretary General's term does not finish until July of next year. I expect to be saying farewell to him in Antigua and Barbuda at the 55th regular session of the Assembly. When all of the flowers that he too is due will be given to him. But I want to end where I started. Many are called, few are chosen. This organization was very fortunate to have chosen Luis Almagro. Thank you.
Muchas emociones.